Hello guys, and welcome to another profile tree video. So in today's video we're going to be taking a look at website security, protecting your site and users from threats. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. So what we'll talk about in this video is a couple of areas on how you can keep your website secure and what exactly the importance of website security is. So firstly, I wanted to go ahead and talk about the importance of website security. So ensuring website security is of course the paramount in today's digital landscape. Now, I'm sure you guys have already went through a couple of different viruses and different issues along the way, especially maybe if you've went onto a website and there's no type of security and they manage to gather some information, then of course that leads to and some of these could have been microviruses, and that's like written in low level language. That'll be like C or assembly language. And then you've got source code virus, polymorphic virus, encrypted virus, stealth virus. These are all pretty much some of the viruses that are on the website. So you even have stuffs to the file infector viruses. And you guys may have heard of SQL injection, and those are more commonly towards the e-commerce sites, but we'll talk about that later on in the video. But anyway, as a user yourself, of course, if you're visiting a website and it's an online store, you may have a risk of authentication as well as payment. So that's something that's very, very scary. But anyway, getting back into topic. Cyber threats and attacks are becoming increasingly sophisticated, so we all know that within the modern age, and they do implement robust security measures, not only for safeguards your website, but also protects sensitive data for your users. So that's just to prevent all those different viruses. And it's not only viruses as well, but all these different safeguards to help protect the data of your users. And that's also information, as I've stated before, like payment gateways or even credit card details, debit card details, things like that, as well as sensitive information down to personal sensitive information. But anyway, hopefully this guide will help. It's just going to be a comprehensive guide just to give you an understanding or to help you understand the importance of website security and what are the different steps you can take to protect your site and users from threats. So if you are a website owner or you own multiple websites, then of course you know the importance of website security. So currently with all our websites, including Profile Tree and all our other internal brands, like Learning Mole, Conley Cove, Amazing Food and Drink, and Amazing Cars and Drives, we all have them within an SSL security. Now, we've mainly talked about SSL on another video, so if you guys want to check that out on our YouTube channel, feel free to do so. But if you do want to check out how you can test for SSL security for your website, there are plenty of different sites available. So here we have a site here, which is ImmuniWeb, and this is where you can pretty much just insert your URL, go ahead and press the play button there. There's two different IP addresses for us, so depending on the IP address that you want to go ahead and test, go ahead and select OK. You'll get a rundown, so it takes 15 minutes or so, but it can be quicker depending on the performance of your device. But this just gives you some testing here. So there's API penetration testing, API security scanning as well. So there's different areas here like dark web monitoring, GDPR penetration testing. So it just goes through every single test known. You can try out that AI platform if you want to, but it will come with those as well. So it's doing the SSL and TLS for PCI DSS compliance. We have the HIPAA guidance, the NIST guidelines as well, and industry for best practices. So just goes through a bunch of different security tests. So it all depends on the website that you visit, of course, but that is the one for ImmuniWeb. And of course, you can do the same for the other websites that you may own. But that's one thing that you should do, which is to just go through the SSL, make sure that it is secure, and to have an SSL implemented in the first place. Now, you'll know that the site isn't secure if there is no padlock beside the actual URL name. So we have a padlock on ours, and I'll go ahead and show you that, guys, now. So I'll just move my screen down a little bit here. So you can see there on the very top left, it's got the padlock with profiletree.com, and of course we're sitting on the web development page right now, but that's how you would know that the site is protected. Now, that's great for giving users the confidence to use your website. You don't want to be coming into an unprotected website. As myself, I don't want to be doing that either, and that's one way, of course, to do it. And just to recap, it's called SSL encryption. So SSL means secure sockets layer, and you will have to have a certificate for that. Again, we did talk about that in another video. There's 3 different types of certificates that you can go through, one being the best and then one being the lowest, but will still work for a website like this. But anyway, what it does is any data transmitted between the user's browser and your server is completely encrypted. So that'll be crucial, again, especially for e-commerce websites, especially if you're handling site sensitive data. That's one thing on why you need SSL encryption. So now that we've talked about security, we're going to go ahead and talk about another crucial part, and that's with upkeep and maintenance. So again, just using ProfileTree as a demonstration. So what you would want to do, especially if it's a WordPress built website, or just depending if you've hard coded it or anything that you've done at all, basically, you would want to do some regular updates and patches. So to keep your website completely virus free or ensuring security for users, you want to make sure that your plugins, themes, any other software that you have, or anything that's built into that website is completely up to date. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate that with just a base model WordPress site. So I finally got it up here. This is the WordPress site. Now, what I was going to basically say is within the regular updates and patches, this is what you want to be going through. So if you do own a content management system, or if the website has a content management system, just go to your plugins, like so, and then just double check all the different plugins that you have. Make sure that you remove plugins that you don't need as well. That's another good thing to do. So say, for example, all-in-one WP migration. So that's great for, of course, transferring your files over to another clean blank site. And that's great for backups. But you want to make sure that if it's not needed anymore, you'll go and tick it off. Go ahead on to delete, which is here in the actions. Go ahead and click delete and then apply. Now, if you, however, do need that plugin and it's stating that there is a new version of whatever the plugin name is available, and of course the version, go ahead and update it. Now, if you want to go into further detail, go ahead and check out the version of the updates, see what they've added. Make sure that it's not some sort of bug that's going to break your website as well. So that's what plugins are known to do, which is to break a site. That's why backups are created on the regular. So that is one thing that you want to make sure and double check, is whether that the version of the update is good for your website and it's not going to cause any issues. Last thing to know is if it does just say update now, go ahead and just click update now. I personally would not recommend to enable auto updates, as I've stated earlier on. If you have it on auto update and it's updated the plugin and it's then broken the site somehow, then you know your issue would be towards one of the plugins. But as I said, it's better to just go through each individual plugin that you have, double check them, update them, see whether you still need it, either delete or update. So it's as simple as that. Now, talking about what I was stating earlier on, which is the backup. It's not just with a CMS style website, but it's with any website at all. I would recommend that you regularly back up your website files and databases. So if you have SQL or any other back-end code with your site, and of course you have your front-end website, then you want to just ensure that those files and databases are completely backed up. Now you could do that with GitHub. You could do a solid copy and paste on your own file explorer. Just depending on how you want to do it. You can have a physical copy of it. You can update it and back it up on to the cloud. Whatever you can, just ensure that you have a working site so that you can restore your site to its previous clean state if an event of security breach or data loss. So that's another fallback that you can go through. It's like playing a game. So if you're expected to play a game and you didn't save and you just keep quick saving and you go back to the previous quick save and it turns out that there's an issue with that particular mission or whatever, then if you didn't do a backup save, then of course it's going to cause issues. You'll have to start the game again if ever you did save. But that can also be an example as well for a website. So if you're building a website, say you were doing a Wix site and you didn't click save and it wasn't even on autosave as well, then that means all the work that you've done for hours on end is completely gone. So it's always best to keep a regular backup. And more talking so on security as well. If you do have a WordPress style website or if you're using another website builder, just ensure that you do have some sort of security plugin. So there are plenty to search for. So if we take a look at security, now we should be able to see a few. So currently we have the iTheme security, but I'll go ahead and show you a couple of different ones that are available. So we do trust to use iThemes, but of course each to their own preference. There are other ones like all-in-one security. iTheme security, I would say, would be one of the better ones, of course, with the bigger reviews as well. WordFence would be side to side with the iTheme security as well. You're protected from, you've got your firewall, you've got malware scan, and you've got login security. So some of the key features that you would need. There's all-inclusive security solution by SiteGround, but of course, with the reviews, it's only 118. So it's always best to go to a reputable company who offers the best in terms of security. That's one of the main things that you'll be investing your money on, which is the actual security of a website. So it's just trying to keep everything together is the best thing you can do. So with the iThemes here, we do have security. I'll go ahead and demonstrate it now. So one for e-commerce, just depending on the site that you're building, of course. So the step-by-step process for this is if we're running a site, so luxury leisure affluence is meant to be more or less a brochure website. So for this one, we can enable a security check pro, but we're happy enough we don't need to do that. So it'll ask you whether you're doing this for your own personal site or if this is a client site. We'll just say client site, and then of course the users, depending on how many users you put in here. Users are here, and you can add as many as you can. So we'll just click next. Yep, I'm happy enough. So allow managing for iThemes. Okay, we don't need to do that. Yes, enforce a policy password for these users. And then, so we can enable brute force, so protect site against attackers that try to randomly guess your login details to your site. Then, of course, you have site scan scheduling, so you can enable that if you want to. Again, it'll be different for each of the different types of theme plugins there are. So in terms of iTheme security, they've got site scan scheduling, you've got network brute force as well. As I've stated earlier on, local brute force, they've even got Security Check Pro, we can just disable that. Two-factor authentication, that leads me on to talking about that a little bit as well. So two-factor authentication is something that I would say would be recommended on a site. That'll not only protect your users, but yourself as well. And of course, people are knowledgeable enough to use a strong and unique username and of course a password, and that'll prevent all the brute force that you'll be seeing. Then that'll be for all the accounts associated with the website, of course. And as you can see, there is a two-factor authentication. You'll see that as 2FA, so that's the abbreviation for it. So that's just another extra padlock or an extra layer of security that's great to have on your site. So I would recommend to always keep a two-factor authentication. But again, that's all on you as a website owner. Depends how you want to do it. But I would recommend to have a two-factor authentication. So we'll go ahead and click next. So we're happy enough with that. Yes. Of course, with the lockouts, yes, site check and utilities. That's what's great about this as well, is it double checks with you before we move on to the next one, which is the user groups. We'll just continue with a default user group. And these will be for the client, security managers, editors, authors, contributors, subscribers, and everyone else. So that's like your password requirements. So you require them to have a strong password. You refuse compromised passwords as well. They can't skip two-factor onboarding, so if you want to, you can get them to do that. And then there's of course application passwords. So that's what you would enable for clients, let's just say. Then we'll skip next. And then security managers, this is someone who's going to be handling the site themselves. So manage iTheme security, yes, I'll give them access to that. Security dashboard, yes, I'll give them access to that, as well as password requirements, strong password, refuse compromised passwords, and they can't skip the two-factor onboarding. We'll click on next. Then again, that's the same. That's what we would normally do, was just keep it with strong passwords and refuse compromised passwords. And then, of course, the application passwords. So that's what we will have for each of the people. You've got your subscribers as well, contributors, authors as well. So anyone who wants to publish a blog, things like that. So we'll go ahead and skip user group. And you then configure that website. Everything is okay here. Yes, that's fine. Next. Okay, so we can just check that IP. But yes, usually you can just go through this, and then you'll be able to go through the notifications and then secure the site. Since this site isn't live, I'm unable to go through. But yes, just go through the notification secure site. Again, it all depends on the plugins, and it's key to always just go through the different steps like iTheme security. So what other key aspects should you look at for website security? So since we've talked about regular updates and patches, we've talked about the strong authentication, we've also talked about the SSL encryption as well, backups, why not also look into secure hosting? So when you are looking for a host to get your website up and running, of course there's Cloudflare, you got Flywheel, a whole load of different servers to choose from, or a different amount of providers as well. Make sure that you choose a reputable and secure hosting provider that offers features like site security, regular backups, and 24/7 monitoring. And that also prevents you from having to worry about the site too much, so you don't have to keep overlooking at it. Of course, if there's a provider that does offer this, you don't really have to stress too much onto it. So, whether they have the regular backups as well, and 24/7 monitoring is a very important factor for that. Another thing that you could do as well is vulnerability scanning. So Regularly scan your website for vulnerabilities, doing security check tools. So like we talked about with the I-themes as well, but there are other scans that you can choose. What these scans do is just help identify potential weak points that attackers could exploit. There's other areas as well, like content security policies. So implement CSP to specify which sources of content are considered legitimate on your site, and that'll prevent the execution of malicious scripts and code. So that's a really, really big thing. That's like a Trojan horse, technically. Also, another thing that you may want to think about is to actually limit the amount of user access. So grant only the necessary permissions to users and administrators, minimize the amount of accounts with high level access, and that'll just reduce the risk of unauthorized changes. So from what we seen earlier on with the users on WordPress, maybe just limit the amount of people that have access to everything, as you want to try to prevent any issues as well. You don't want to make unauthorized changes to your website, and that will lead to backups if need be. Also, try to monitor suspicious activity. So just have a look at the website's activity logs. That's the best way to do it. That's where you can check whether there's any unauthorized access, any unusual behavior, and suspicious activity as well. And if you have an e-commerce based website, do think about another way of having a secure payment processing. If your website does handle those online transactions, of course, it has to be compliant with the payment card industry data security standard. So that's the PCI DSS requirements. So that's one thing that you have to take a note of. Of course, it is within GDPR as well if you don't have security measures for payment processing. And then also think about a way to plan for incidents as well. So develop an incident response plan just to outline steps to take in case of security breaches. So this plan should include communication protocols, backup restoration processes, and legal considerations. So that again leads to the backups as well. But overall, guys, that is pretty much all you need to look at for website security. It is, of course, an ongoing effort that requires vigilance and proactive measures. So always implementing these practices, you can significantly reduce risk of security breaches and overall protect your website's integrity and provide a safe online experience for your users. Well, there you have it, guys. That is pretty much the end of the video, and that's everything that you need to know about website security. If, however, you are interested in finding out more information based on website security, we do have more videos on it on our YouTube channel, so feel free to check it out. We do talk more in depth about the different SSL security as well, and other types of website security practices that you can take. But guys, as I said, that reaches the end of the video. Hopefully you did enjoy, and I'll see you for the next one. Thank you very much for watching.